What's up, guys? Welcome back to Burn the Ship, the podcast that inspires entrepreneurs to go all in on their business. Today, we have on Maggie Ishak. Thank you so much for taking the time and coming in with us.
Thanks, Kelly. Thanks for having me.
Of course. So tell me a little bit about your business.
Sure. So I am a business coach. Business coaches do a lot of different things, and hopefully over the course of today, I'll be able to explain that. I primarily work with female business owners, although I don't discriminate. And really what I try to do with them is help them get unstuck from wherever they're stuck. It might be things like they don't have time to take vacation, or they think they don't have time to take vacation, something with their team, or they've got some big goal in front of them and they don't know how to go from here to there. And it's figuring out with them what's holding them back operationally in their business and building a plan to get them there.
So how did you start getting into this field? Because I know that wasn't your
I started as
plan of action immediately.
So I started my career. Yeah, I started my career as an engineer many years ago. Was working in manufacturing for a large manufacturing company in the Southeast. I transitioned out of that manufacturing role into supply chain and operations, and I was very fortunate. I had a great career. Every few years, got a phone call. I got the next job, and I worked my way into senior leadership. What I realized was I was not getting as much joy from that job. And when I look back on that time, what I really enjoyed was coaching and mentoring my teams. And so, for example, one of my fondest memories is somebody that I worked with. He actually wanted to get into a completely different area of the business and had no idea how to go from where he was in this part of the business to that part. We actually got a plan together, and he executed on that plan, and he's now living his dream life with the career that he wanted, which he never would have thought that he would have been able to shift gears in his career that way. So that's what really brings me joy, is being able to be alongside people and help them with those, whether it's those transitions or making those changes and really finding a way with their path forward. It was about 2 years ago that I made the decision to I first had to think about it, doing this. And so it took me some time to get a plan together and figure out exactly how I was going to do this. But I'm almost at my 1-year mark of starting my business.
That's congratulations.
Thank you.
That's amazing.
Thank you.
So where did you start at? Have you been in Georgia, or are you outside?
So I am now here in Georgia. In my corporate life, the last role that I had is what moved us here to Georgia. I'm in the Alpharetta area. And so I have started my business. I'm really working all over kind of the North Fulton area, but all the way from Kennesaw up to Gainesville. I've got clients from Kennesaw all the way up into Gainesville. So some of my clients I work with on site. Some of my clients I just work with on Zoom. It really just depends on the nature of the business.
That's great. I mean, I know that we are a local business in Ackworth, but we do have a nationwide reach. Are you able to speak with anybody
Absolutely.
Anywhere?
I work on Zoom. I work on Zoom. If they've got an internet connection, I can work with them. So absolutely.
Great. That's what the people need to know.
Okay.
So what do you see going forward with your business? What does that look like?
Well, like I said, I'm about to cross year 1. And so really it's just continuing to grow. And when I transitioned out of my corporate life, my entire network was really in one industry. And so what I've been doing over the last year is really growing my network. So not only growing my network to generate leads, but also growing my network so that when my clients come to me and say, hey, do you know somebody that does payment processing? Or do you know somebody that can help me with my website? I can be able to do that. And I literally just had that happen this morning. One of my clients asked me for a referral for their website. So I'm here to serve them in terms of them building and growing their business and really getting into the operations of it, but then also being able to provide them with a trusted network of partners. So for me, it's just continuing to grow that network, both on the partner side, but also on the lead side.
You and I both know that referral based is extremely important, and I think that some people can go into a networking meeting or a BNI or a Power Core meeting and think that they're just trying to scout clients. But that's really not the base of what you should be doing, is just building relationships, because it's fruitful when you do that. Like, you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours.
Yep. I'll add to that, Kelly. So if I go into my BNI meeting, I've got 20 other members of my BNI. If I'm in sell mode, I'm only selling to 20. And not that I would do that, but if I were. If I go into a mode of training them to be my sales force and really building a relationship with them, so as they're out meeting with all their contacts, they can refer me, that just exponentially multiplies my reach, and yours as well when you think about that. So for me, when I go into any networking event, I do not look at any of the people that I'm meeting as I'm selling to them. I'm trying to educate them on what I do, and really know a little bit about them and let them know what makes me tick and what makes me different, so that they can tell somebody else about me. And so far it's been working.
That's great. So with being an entrepreneur, coming out of this business that you were in for so long,
Yep.
going in on your own.
It's scary.
What would be maybe one of your failures that you've had to overcome? That way our audience can learn from you.
So I've got a few that I can share with you. And I'm gonna start off. I was at a conference a couple of months ago, and there was somebody giving a talk, and he used this quote that was, "You can't give birth to an adult." Okay, I know it sounds kind of weird. You give birth to babies, right?
Yeah.
Babies are born. You don't birth adults, right? Well, it was really a metaphor, really for businesses. Businesses start and they evolve, and there's a journey that you need to go on through your business. Mm-hmm. And so with that, you can't be in year 1 of your business and thinking you should be in year 5 or year 10. And so having a plan, having expectations that line up with that is really key. And one of the biggest mistakes that you can make is almost comparing yourself to others, right? Somebody may have been doing it for a much longer time, and then all of a sudden you're like, well, why am I not there? And so
comparison is the thief of all joy.
It is. And so with that, I'm gonna kind of flip it around, just simply celebrating your wins. And even I'm a coach, I have a coach. So I have a mentor coach that I work with. I meet with her once a week for 30 minutes. And this is one of the biggest things I've learned from her, is celebrating wins. And I start every one of my client sessions with celebrating wins. Okay. And I'm gonna get to the failure story. It's so important.
Little wins are important.
It's so important to focus on what went right. Okay. So I was launching a group coaching cohort last year, and I thought I had 4 people, which I was like, okay, great. I ended up with 1. And I get on the call with her, and I was like, I've only got 1. She's like, you've got 1. I'm like, I've only got 1. She's like, no, you have 1. And so it could be viewed as a failure, but it actually worked out to be a complete blessing in disguise, because I had 1 that it then turned into her for a one-on-one session, which was fine for her, but it gave me a chance to really hone that offer and that group coaching program in a way to make it more beneficial to others. So it really turned out to be a win-win. But at the time, when you think you've got 4 and you end up with 1, it's so easy to be like
disappointed.
Yeah, it's really easy to be disappointed.
Yeah.
And it took my mentor coach to say, you have 1, in that tone, as opposed to, I only have 1. And so it's those words like only and just, get them out of your vocabulary. I have 1, I have 4, I have whatever the number is. So focus on the positive, focus on the wins.
Yeah, that's interesting. The tone of voice really makes a difference in how you're speaking to somebody, because I only have 1 versus you have 1.
Yes.
Like
absolutely.
That is a completely different, that's a different field. And that's important to think about in any business. Like that tone of voice makes the difference. You can look at it as a positive, or you can look at it as a negative.
Absolutely.
Is your glass half full, or is it half empty? And you want to look at it as half full, or you'll never be successful.
Right. And if all you're doing is comparing yourself
negatives
to others, then you're always looking at it half full. But no, I have 1. It's better than 0.
Absolutely. So tell me a little bit more about how your business is different than other business coaches, because you're industry is pretty saturated. So why would someone come to you versus going to somebody else? What benefits do you bring them that other people don't?
Yep. So you're right. There are a lot of business coaches, and business coaches do a lot of different things. And Kelly,
Wear many hats.
we wear many hats, but I will tell you this, Kelly. Other coaches are actually great referral partners for me because we all kind of work in different lanes. And I've gotten referrals from other coaches because they get somebody, they don't exactly do that. It's nice to be able to refer them to somebody else. And I've done the reverse. If I get somebody, I'm like, this is not quite a fit, I'm going to pass them on to somebody else. I really enjoy working with women, and I'll explain why. So when I was in my corporate life, I was growing my career, also growing my family, and it is hard. It is very, very difficult. That whole working mom balance thing, it's kind of a myth. But everybody needs to find their own balance. And I saw so many other women throw their hands up in the air and say, I can't do this. It's too hard. And they give up or they stop short. And I made a lot of mistakes in that part of my life as well. And I want to be able to use that to help other women be encouraged, empowered, and really build their businesses, but also balancing their time. So at a very, high level, one of the things I would say is I'm a female and I get what it's like to be a female business owner and business leader. And so that is one way that I can really serve my clients in a different way. The other thing is with my background, I've seen a lot of different parts of business, and I like to be able to bring that to particularly business owners that maybe haven't had that exposure. One thing I do really, really well, if you were to describe your business to me and you kind of imagine dumping a whole bunch of stuff on the table and saying, here's all the things going on with my business. What I'm going to do with you is really help you kind of pick it apart and figure out, okay, this is the one thing that's really important, and this is where we need to focus first, and help you find a way to make progress. And then continuing to build that flywheel of making progress. I have a client that I've been working with now for a little over 3 months. She has made so much progress. She's revamped her offers. She's actually decided which parts of her business not to pursue, which has actually made her much happier. She didn't realize it at the time, but she got rid of some of these parts of her business that weren't bringing her any joy. And now she's really able to focus on what she calls the bucket filler clients. So the clients that really kind of fill her bucket and bring her joy. And it took somebody from the outside asking her those questions and making her think about her business for her to be confident in her decision to say, I'm not doing that part anymore.
Right. Internalize what you really feel versus
what she should be doing. She was doing all these other parts because she thought she should be doing these parts, but it wasn't bringing her any joy. And so now she's really focused. She's raised her prices very confidently. So,
I mean, slay. If you can do it, do it. That's super interesting. What really, I think, I've talked to a lot of business coaches with networking and our business being merchant services. I've talked to a lot of people. I've talked to a lot of business coaches, and some of them are women driven.
Yeah.
But you having your background in business and then taking it from that into actually coaching other people in business is different, because a lot of people don't have that experience and they go into business coaching and they don't have the background that you do. So that definitely sets you apart from a lot of other people. So what is an ideal client for you?
Okay. So I primarily work with female business owners. Again, as I mentioned earlier, I do have male clients, but I really focus on female business owners who say things like, I don't have time to take vacation because my business won't run without me. Or they're working some obscene number of hours per week and they don't know how to back themselves out of the business. They can't get their team aligned. They say, my team's not on the same page. Can't get them to really get aligned with the business goals. They may have some objective that they're trying to get to, some growth objective, some revenue objective, and they don't know how to go from here to there. Or the business may be doing really, really well, and they're growing to the point where they don't know how to scale. And what I've typically found, Kelly, is really common among a lot of these business owners is they started it themselves, they're holding on to everything, and we've got to pick apart what they can let go of, what they can delegate, how they can really empower their team. And so those are the kinds of things they would say. That then you would say, I know somebody you could call.
Well, you're definitely somebody that I think that everybody, male or female, can learn from. So how can everybody reach you?
Sure.
Instagram, Facebook, website, phone number, whatever you feel free to give our audience. That way, if they need you, they can give you a call.
Yep. So I do have, probably the easiest way to find me is on LinkedIn. My name is Maggie, Maggie. Last name is Ishak, Ishak. So if you find me on LinkedIn, you can connect with me there. I do have a website, and I have email. So email is Ishak, Mishak at FocalPointCoaching.com. Those are probably the two easiest ways for anybody to reach me.
Cool. So with our podcast, it is Burn the Ship.
Yeah.
So give our audience that is upcoming future entrepreneurs that want to burn the ship and leave their 9 to 5. What is your last bit, like good quality words that you can tell them to do it?
So in short, just do it. Just do it. But
we're not Nike.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I'll share with you my story, and I have to give a little bit of credit to my husband, because I was thinking about just quitting cold turkey and then doing this, but I was scared out of my mind. Like, I was so scared to do this. And he looks at me and he's like, why don't you ask if you can work part-time in the corporate job? I was like, they're never going to let me do that. Well, Kelly, I asked, and they said yes. And in fact, I was able to rearrange my job. And I dropped my hours, and I just kept dropping my hours until I got to literally to 10 hours a week while I was building up my business. And so, as we were talking before the show, I was telling you about my soft landing. That was really my soft landing. And so when I was ready to totally cut the cord, I was so confident in my decision to do that. And some people just have a hard time making those decisions, and you're kind of like, do I do it? Do I not do it? Yes, just go do it. But there may be other alternatives to give folks a softer landing where maybe they're not as scared, or just for whatever other reason, to give them an easier way to transition out of the corporate world into the entrepreneurial world.
And the soft landing for you was your company being able to tell you, you can cut back your hours, and you can. And
they restructured my job. They were great to do that. Now, not everybody can do that.
Most people wouldn't ask.
Most people wouldn't ask. And so this really goes back to, just ask. You don't know until you ask. And, if I were to throw out one more little lesson learned, if I can, it's this idea of go for no. It's an awesome book. If you haven't read it, I recommend anybody read it. It's really this idea about just asking until you get a no. Most people wouldn't have asked if they could work part-time for fear of the no. But in fact, ask. And as you and I are both, networking and just prospecting, when we talk to people, keep going until you get the no. Don't stop short, because there's a yes somewhere behind all those no's.
Right. One of my favorite quotes ever is from the beautiful, wonderful Kris Jenner. And she says, if you're hearing a no, it means that you're in the wrong room. You're talking to the wrong person.
Yeah, go find the right person to talk to.
You keep going.
Yeah, and
that's why she's so successful.
Yeah, and what can you learn from that no? Maybe there was something about the process.
Learned.
There's a lesson learned. So find what the lesson is, incorporate that into tomorrow, and just pick yourself back up again and keep going. So,
thank you so much for everything. You have such great advice. I really hope that anybody that is listening can go to Maggie for all of their business advice. And just one more time, tell everybody the best place to reach you at.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, so my name is Maggie Ishak with FocalPoint Business Coaching. Easiest way is on LinkedIn, Maggie, Maggie, Ishak, Ishak, or email at mishak, so mishak at FocalPointCoaching.com.
Thank you so much, Maggie, for coming
Kelly.
in. It's been a pleasure to
Likewise.
talk to you. And y'all go follow Maggie and hit her up.